Common workflows with the StructureSolver Petrel plugin include development of a structurally valid 3D fault framework and extending a horizon interpretation in 3D around or across faults. For this workflow, a geologist would export multiple 2D sections from Petrel to StructureSolver, interpret and validate in StructureSolver using a combination of modeling, restoration, and area depth tools, then export the interpretation from each section back to Petrel. By repeating this process for multiple sections, you are able to build up validated 3D interpretations. However, you do need to ensure that you're using the same Petrel interpretation object for each of the faults and horizons you interpret in different sections in StructureSolver, and I'll show you how to do this. Let's start with dip line A70. We export to StructureSolver, and in StructureSolver create a new fault, fault A. We interpret this fault and validate using the StructureSolver tools. Other videos in this playlist, StructureSolver plugin for Petrel, show the application of modeling, restoration, and area depth analysis on this line, so please view those videos for more detail. Now update Petrel with your new fault. The update dialog shows that you are adding a new fault item. This new fault, fault A, shows up in the interpretation window and in the input pane. Let's select another line, say line 10 on the other side of the survey. Make sure fault A is selected in the input pane and export. Fault A is listed in the StructureSolver export dialog, but it is not selected because there are no points on it. You will need to manually select this fault and then continue the export. Now you can see fault A is added to the interpretation dashboard as a Petrel object, but it has no segments associated with it. Select fault A to make it active, interpret the fault, do whatever validation you need, and when satisfied, update Petrel again. In the input dialog, fault A is listed and it's identified as an existing Petrel fault by Petrel ID. Once the new fault segment is imported, the fault now shows up as a 3D plane. Let's now choose an intermediate line to export. This line is intersected by the fault plane, so this time fault A is actually selected for export and there are points on it. We export to StructureSolver, modify the interpolated fault, and export back to Petrel. With this workflow, we can validate our fault framework and horizon interpretations as we proceed with our interpretation, thereby minimizing expensive rework. Please refer to the help manual and other videos in this playlist for more ways to use StructureSolver in your Petrel interpretations.